Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, and I'm out on another exploration. Today, somewhat personal, I've come to visit my dad's house. It's sold now. My sister and I are selling it, and we're about to exchange the contracts and things, and this is pretty much one of the last times I will get to visit his house. And I thought it would be nice to take you guys with me and have a little final look round. I made a video, I'll put a link in the description to a previous video a year or so ago when I was remembering my dad who died, and it's quite a poignant one. And because, you know, the Bald Explorer is semi-personal, I thought it would be worth recording my thoughts and memories as I go around today. So going in his bungalow through the front door here, we have had the house clearance is in. We've tried to do most of it ourselves over the 2 years actually since Dad died now, and it's just taken forever because Dad had so much stuff. He just had that mentality of keeping stuff, and it was all tat. Unfortunately, poor old Dad never really had anything worth keeping of any value. There's a few personal effects, of course, but there was no treasures, you know, no heirlooms and that sort of thing. But that was fine. You know, Dad was a frugal man. The bungalow was built in the 1930s. I'm in the kitchen now, and there's very little left in here, a few bits and pieces, as you can see. We go back through this door and come round into the front room, which is a dining room, I think. Now very clear and empty. Has a little fire down here, and the boilers and things. Tiny little room. And this used to be a room that Dad's partner, he didn't marry again, but he had a common law wife, I suppose, and she would come in here and made it very much her room with a sofa and stuff. Towards the end we had a bit of problems with the lady who was Dad's partner, because she didn't understand dementia, and Dad suffered with dementia at the end. Just coming now into the master bedroom here. This was a much bigger room, more spacious, as you can see. I'll come around this side. And this became her room. And Dad, you'll see, was basically shoved into a small room. It was very worrying to see how she became the big mother hen of the house, and it was Dad's house all the time. And Dad was relegated, sadly, into a small box room. We've got the bathroom here, which is really not worth much looking at, and then a separate toilet here. And then we come down to three more rooms here, and this was tiny little box room which became Dad's room, and he was shoved in here. Tiny little space, and it was worrying really from the children's point of view, but he seemed happy and he seemed okay. They lived pretty much separate lives. She didn't understand the dementia coming into what we put him into, a bedroom here, because it had access to the garden, so he could go out into the garden, and he lived his last part of his life here. Still smells of wee-wee, unfortunately, of urine. He had dementia very severely, and in the end had to go into a home. And the lady who was his partner, I won't mention her name because that's unfair on her, and I don't want to identify her in any way. She used to, this is the front room now, or it's the back room, it's the south-facing room with a large conservatory area. And they would have chairs in here, obviously, and furniture and stuff, and Dad would be left in here on his own. He would be calling for her by name, and she would sit up in that other room on her own to get away from him. She was elderly too, and I do understand from her point of view it was very hard, but she was too proud to ask for help. And we would come in and we would say, well, let us help her to help Dad. And she didn't. She used to slap his legs and be quite spiteful and mean to him. I think really, in honesty, because she didn't understand the illness. I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. But she turned quite nasty, unfortunately, when Dad died, because we needed to sell the house. We needed to sell the house initially to pay for some of his fees when he was in the care home. And she would not go. She had agreed to go. She said, I'll go. As soon as you get him in a care home, I'll go. And then she didn't. And then she got solicitors involved. And she said, no, I've got rights to stay here. I'm not going. It wasn't her house. She hadn't bought it. She hadn't paid into it. They'd shared the bills. And it was Dad's house. And, you know, we felt it was Dad's will that he needed to leave the house to us, his children. And she wasn't having any of that. She wanted to keep it for herself. So we had to get solicitors involved, and it cost an absolute fortune, but in the end we managed to get her out. And I think she's probably happier in a smaller flat and not having this, but I think, you know, she'd like being the mother hen. Let's go outside for a minute. So this is there's a garage here which Dad used to work in and use as a workshop, and the garden, which is now very overgrown, was very much his pride and joy in retirement. He used to love that. There's a pond at the end. You can see these bushes have just gone ballistic. That tree, that fir tree, I gave him that in a little tiny pot, and it grew up, and he had it cut down halfway once, and it's now grown up again. I think he was here for something like 30 years. Then there's a couple of sheds. I bought a lawnmower, which is still in there. I need to reclaim that actually, to cut the lawn whilst the house was empty and whilst I was looking after Dad, really, because, as I said before, the garden was his pride and joy, and he kept it immaculate. He loved it. But now it's in a sad state of affairs. He used to get apples. Here's some apples. The brambles used to go everywhere. It was just a bit of a nightmare. And there's the aspect from the south. It's all very tired, unfortunately. But we do have some buyers who can see the potential and are keen to get in and make this work. And I think it will work. It's a stone's throw from the beach where the location is. So it will make a lovely house for somebody. It just needs a lot of love and care. It's been neglected for a long time, unfortunately. I haven't had the money, neither has my sister, to do it up and look nice. There's a doorway here. Dad put in a little loft room up here with a couple of lights. He used it as a workshop. He used to manufacture aerials for the marine industry and the police, amongst others. Not television aerials. And he used to come up here and build stuff and send them off, and he was a bit of a designer, very creative person. And I remember sitting here a year or so ago going through his effects, because it took so long to tidy up the house and go through things, his diaries, and just remembering him and feeling proud of him, because having looked after him when he was in his dementia stage for a couple of years, and the last year pretty much full time, nearly 24/7, that was incredibly hard. You know, no one expects to have to wipe your own dad's bum. You really don't. But we did have to do that. And that makes you grow up. It makes you appreciate life in a different way. And he died very sadly. Took 5 days to die. Basically starving himself to death, and the family were around the bed, and he was unconscious, really, just breathing very badly, laboured breathing. It was horrible to witness, and it took 5 days. It was incredibly traumatic, as you can imagine. But when he finally went, what a relief for him and for everybody else who'd been looking after him. Dementia is such a horrible disease. And, you know, when you hear people saying they're looking after somebody with dementia, I know exactly what that's like. It's really, really horrible. Anyway, I wanted to have a quick look. I have had to come here to read the meter. which I've already done. So a bit of a personal story for me really, and the family and people who know me, and for those that follow me may be or may not be interested. But thank you so much for watching. If you have, very informal, very relaxed video. I'll be out and about as ever with more entertaining ones, but don't forget to follow, like and subscribe, and if you're that way inclined, you know, send a donation to keep me making the videos. It's how I earn my living now, and it's all thanks to you guys. So take care and see you on the next one. Bye bye for now.